Hey folks, Will here again with Happily Ever Outdoors. So in this video, we're going to talk a little bit about EDC, or everyday carry, and why it should be important to you. So keep watching. Alright folks, as always, thanks for tuning in. If you enjoy this video, while you're watching it, be sure and give us a thumbs up. Alright, so we hear the term EDC, or everyday carry, thrown around a lot these days, and it can have a lot of different meanings for different people, but when you get down to the basic idea of it, everyday carry is the things that you have with you to stay prepared in your everyday life. Now, in its most basic form, EDC are the items that you carry on your physical person every single day while you're out and about. Some folks also like to carry an EDC bag or a backpack, in which case you can have a lot bigger items, a lot more advanced items. Maybe you could have some emergency food with you, first aid supplies, things like that. Now, of course, that goes into a much deeper level of preparedness that might seem a little too extreme for your average person, or you might opt to keep something like that in the backseat of your truck or the trunk of your car. So we're not going to go deep into that in this video. We're actually going to be focusing on the first thing I talked about, which are the things that I like to carry on my immediate person every single day. Now, the first three kind of go without saying because there's stuff everybody would have. I'm going to have my wallet with me. I'm going to have my car keys, of course, to get where I need to go. And I'm going to have my phone, which I'm actually recording this video on right now. Beyond these obvious basics that pretty much everyone has, there are also a couple of other things that I always like to have on me. Number one, as you might have guessed, is a knife. I always like to have a good cutting tool on me. Generally speaking, for my everyday life, we're not talking about out in the woods, hiking, things like that, camping trips, right? So I'm going to carry just a good sturdy folder like this one here. I like to have a pretty decent sized folding knife, but that's really up to you, your personal preference. You could go smaller than this or bigger, depending on what your local state laws allow you to carry and your place of employment, all that good stuff. Another option I like to have are these little Derma safe folding razor knives that I found a while back. You can get these online. They sell them in multi-packs. I think you can get them black or orange. I just like the orange in case I drop it or whatever. It's easy to spot it. But these things are super small. It's a razor knife, so obviously it's very sharp. This isn't like heavy duty by any means. I mean, this doesn't even have like a really stiff locking mechanism, but this is a good little backup to have. A lot of times I will still carry one of these along with this guy. Or if I'm in a situation where I just really need to keep it small, sometimes like on Sundays when I'm going to church, wearing a suit and slacks that don't have a lot of room for big knives, something like this is nice just so I have some kind of cutting tool on me. But this would also be great if you need to carry a cutting tool just really discreetly. They're inexpensive too and compact, so they're great for like first aid kits, things like that. I stuck one of these in like each of my first aid kits in my vehicles and in my emergency bags. But just another good, really small, affordable option for carrying a cutting tool. You can see the size difference there. So generally I will, like I said, carry both of these because sometimes a razor knife works better depending on what you're trying to do. Or if I do not have room or I'm not in a situation where I want to have a bigger knife like this, I'll just take this guy with me. Another one that probably won't surprise a lot of folks, I like to have some kind of ignition source on me at all times. If I was out in the woods, I would have more than just this. I would have some kind of tinder with me probably. I would have a ferro rod, things like that. But for just everyday life, I like to carry a Bic lighter. This is a standard size. Sometimes I'll carry these, sometimes I'll carry the mini Bics, but it is nothing fancy. But you just know that you have a way of starting a fire if you ever need to. And again, these are really affordable. They're easily accessible to anybody, and it doesn't take any training to learn how to use one of these guys. And even though I don't smoke anything like that, I still carry one of these every single day just for the sake of being prepared. Of course, you could go with something fancier than this if you wanted to carry a Zippo, or there's some other companies that make windproof, waterproof lighters, but as far as on a budget, this is really one of the best ways you can go. Next, I always like to carry a good handkerchief on me. Now this particular one is made here in the USA. It's good quality from a company called Flashlight Gear. I can't say enough good stuff about their gear. But I like to have one of these just for, you know, a couple different reasons. One is just when you get, you know, sweaty or you get a little bit of dirt stuck to your face outside working or whatever, you can wipe your face off. They're also nice if I'm like working on something where I'm taking something apart that has little pieces or whatever. I can unfold that, lay it out on my desk, and it gives you kind of a landing pad to set that stuff out on so you don't lose track of anything. That's especially handy, obviously, if you're out in the woods camping or something like that. Because, you know, it's easy to drop something on the ground and lose it, but even just regular everyday life, it still comes in handy for that. But this is nothing crazy. It's just made of good quality material that's going to hold up really well. It folds up nice. I like to fold it into a triangle like this because it just slides right down into my pocket and gives plenty of room for me to drop lighter, whatever else in my pocket without everything getting all kind of stuck together. So maybe not a 100% must-have for your EDC, but it's something I would certainly recommend. Last but not least, I always recommend carrying a good quality EDC flashlight. Now this particular flashlight here comes from a company called Streamlight. They've been around forever. They're really well known and well recommended within law enforcement, first responders, military folks. Just a really good brand. Now this is the Streamlight Micro Stream, and this is their USB version, meaning this is a USB rechargeable flashlight. You can see right here the front just pops out and there's the charging port right there, so you can charge this thing up. And it also comes in just a regular standard battery operated version. The battery operated one I think goes for about 20 in the US, whereas this one goes for right about 30 for the rechargeable. Now I forget what exactly the lumens are on this light. This is an LED light, but I'll throw that on the screen for you guys. However, when it comes to something like this, I'm really not one of those people who's obsessed with getting a super crazy bright flashlight. For most of your everyday use, you just need something that's just gonna light up the room when you need it, you know, in case there's an emergency, something like a power outage, or somewhere where you're having to like look into a wiring panel, anything like that. Maybe digging around inside of a drawer or looking inside of a closet that doesn't have a light. Of course, if you're out hiking, you probably would carry a larger flashlight or maybe a headlamp with you, but in general, you know, everyday life, most of the time, you don't know you need a flashlight until it's too late. So it's a good idea just to make a habit of always carrying one. Of course, it doesn't have to be anything super expensive. Again, this light was about $30. You may be able to find one a little bit cheaper than that, but I think this kind of price range, this category, you get that really good balance where you've got something that's super good quality, that's really going to be dependable, but it's not going to totally break the bank on you. So this is definitely a great little light. I would certainly recommend this one to you if you're not sure where to start looking. But either way, as a general rule, I really recommend carrying a flashlight with you as part of your EDC. I think it's sometimes overlooked. Not everybody talks about it, but it's one of those really important things to have. So folks, just as a recap, the 4 primary things outside of just your normal stuff you carry every day that I recommend are a good cutting tool or 2, an ignition source, a good quality handkerchief, and a solid, dependable pocket flashlight. Now, if you guys are looking for some good pants to help you carry some of that EDC gear, I certainly recommend these ones here, the 24/7 series from TrueSpec. They've got large cargo pockets on the sides with inner pockets and other good stuff built in there. They've also got these really handy pockets on the side. You can see where your knife can drop right in on one side and your flashlight can drop right in on the other, or whatever else you want to carry. If you want to check out our video review on these pants, I will have that link in the description below as well. Now, before we close out, I just want to talk a little bit about why EDC has become such a thing and why it should matter to you. And it all really comes down to one word, and that's preparedness. Now, I'm not really one of those big, you know, conspiracy theory or end of the world, you know, giant natural disaster preparedness kind of guys. That's not really something I'm super focused on in my own life, and that's certainly not what my channel's about. But there is something to be said for just being smart and being prepared. Of course, just with everything I've learned from my own military training, from my own time out in the woods, I would never go out on a camping trip or a hiking trip out in the woods without carrying certain essential things. Why? Because if something goes wrong, you could be in a very, very bad place if you don't have those certain pieces of gear that you need. But the reality is there's a lot of things just in everyday life. You know, things happen. There can be natural disasters. There can be unrest. There's a lot of that stuff going on in the world these days. You could run into a car breakdown or a car accident, whatever. You just don't know when one of those emergencies is going to hit. And just having a few particular things with you could make a huge difference in the outcome of that situation. And besides that, sometimes you just get in inconvenient situations in your daily life where having a good cutting tool or a flashlight, something along those lines, could make your life a lot easier. So all in all, it's just a good thing to think about. What you carry might not be exactly what I carry. You may carry more, you may choose to carry less, but at least you should be carrying something. Now, of course, there are plenty of other things that you could carry, and a lot of that may depend on, you know, where you live, what you do for a living, what your job is, and what you like to do in your free time. So we would love to hear from you guys. What is it that you find to be absolutely critical in your everyday carry? Maybe it's just a list of different types of items that you want to share, or maybe it's a specific knife or a specific flashlight or whatever that you have found to be really dependable over the years. We would love to hear from you. Share that for the good of the group in the comments below. Again, if you enjoyed this video, we always appreciate it if you'll give us a thumbs up, and if you haven't done so already, why don't you subscribe? Until next time, stay happy, stay outdoors.